Hello and welcome back to another video where I am your host of the American Fan Football channel, where we talk about everything in the Premier League, Champions League, and everything else in the beautiful game. Today I wanted to take a different direction from the normal Chelsea videos that we've been uploading and talk about two of Chelsea's greatest rivals, being Arsenal and Tottenham. And I wanted to get to the bottom of who is the better team right now. And we're going to talk about three different categories. That's the manager, the squad depth of the team, and the strength of their first 11 team. And we're going to have a little bit of debate, try to have a nuanced discussion on which team is better in all those categories, and ultimately who is the better team overall. So I uploaded another video earlier today talking about Thomas Tuchel and why he got sacked. So if you're interested in that, please check out that video. As well, please drop a like and subscribe. And if you leave a comment on the video, I promise you that I will respond within 24 hours. So if you want to have a discussion with me in the comment section, please feel free to do that. And as well, if anyone wants to appear in any of my videos, I would be more than happy to have some people in the audience come onto the channel and give their footballing opinions as well. So please let me know in the comments if we want that to happen, and we can try to arrange something. Okay, so without further ado, let's get into the video. Okay, so we're going to start at the manager. And this is going to be a debate between Mikel Arteta and Antonio Conte, who is the better manager. And I think this is an interesting discussion because I think there are two different types of managers. One is a very tactically disciplined manager in Antonio Conte, and one is a not so tactically disciplined but very good man manager in Mikel Arteta, who I think excels in getting the most out of his squad by making his players happy. And Antonio Conte gets the most out of his squad by making sure they're tactically disciplined. So that's a slight difference in their management styles, and I'm not saying one is better than the other. I actually think you need a balance of both to be the best manager, and that's something that the likes of Pep and Klopp really do excel at. So, who is better, and which of these styles kind of outwins each other? And my immediate answer is going to have to be Antonio Conte. And that's just because of the years of experience he has over Mikel Arteta, the years of experience he has winning trophies, starting dynasties in terms of Juventus, and ending dynasties with what he did with Inter Milan, not to mention a very good, well-placed semifinals in the Euros with Italy with an aging squad that was pretty terrible, and a league title and an FA Cup with Chelsea. So I think Antonio Conte obviously has the experience over Mikel Arteta, and he has the trophy cabinet to back up his reputation, which is something that Arteta doesn't have. But Arteta has impressed me this season. The players he brings have gelled really well into a system, and I'm by no means saying he's a bad manager. I don't think he's as good as some people say he is, but I think by no means is he bad, and I think he is bringing Arsenal definitely in the right direction. I don't know if he is the man to bring them there before someone else comes over and completes his mission and brings success to Arsenal, or I don't know if he's the person to take them all the way, but that's something we will see in the future. But in this current day, not talking about the future, talking about the here and now, Antonio Conte is a better manager. He will get more out of his players, and he will get more out of players that are worse. So he will, make your Victor Moses is the best right wing back in the Premier League for a season. He will make, players like Ashley Young and Matteo Darmian, who were Manchester United flops, who were nowhere near good enough, but he will bring them to Serie A titles. And that is kind of what he's been doing his entire career. Taking players who could be best described as average and having them perform really well in his tactical system and having them perform really well over the course of a season. And that's really why I think that Antonio Conte just takes the edge over Mikel Arteta. I think Mikel Arteta will make the players happy, and that in turn will help them be their best selves and play their best selves, but without the extra tactical discipline that I think comes with a manager like Antonio Conte, I don't think I think they could always be playing a little bit better. So that's why I give Antonio Conte the edge, just because of his tactical nuance, his experience, and not to mention the reputation he has, just because you're going to respect the manager much more if he's won 4 Serie A titles in the Premier League, where Mikel Arteta has a lone FA Cup to his name. I think that's less impressive for a new player that's coming in. So if a player like Gabriel Jesus came in, he's like, I've won 4 Premier League titles already as a player. You have not won anything more than an FA Cup as a manager. Why would I listen to you? And I'm not saying Gabriel Jesus is doing that. I was just using him as an example of something that could happen in the future with Mikel Arteta, because he doesn't have the experience to back him up as other top managers do. And that could be a problem, but it can also not be a problem, and we will only see in the future. Okay, so I gave Tottenham the edge on the manager. So let's talk about the first 11. The first 11 is kind of interesting because I feel like Arsenal have the edge in terms of the defense for sure. I think the defense of Zinchenko, Gabriel, Saliba, and then Ben White at right back, and with Aaron Ramsdale in goal, is a very strong back line. I think it's defensively resolute. I think Zinchenko is very dangerous on the left back. I don't think Ben White is as dangerous playing at right back, but he also brings defensive solidarity, which is very important for Mikel Arteta. And I think this back line slightly outweighs the back line of like Christian Romero and Eric Dyer and the other Tottenham center backs and such. And I think one area where they very much outrank them is specifically in the goalkeeper. I think Hugo Lloris is a little bit past his prime and has been for a while now. I think he's constantly kind of struggled to keep up with like his reflexes and his positioning, and he has looked in decline as a goalkeeper for a while now. So I think, because of those reasons, I think Arsenal have a better defense. But now let's talk about the midfield. I think Arsenal's defensive pivot of Thomas Partey and Granit Xhaka is actually very balanced. And although it does have problems with like Thomas Partey being very injury prone, we're specifically talking about the first 11. So I think that midfield pivot kind of outranks the midfield of like Bentancur and Højbjerg and Basuma as well. So I would give Arsenal the edge in the midfield as well. And then the attack is not even a debate. Obviously, Tottenham have a better attack than Arsenal. You can't really get better than Son and Kane and Kulusevski. I would argue that attack is probably better than Pep Guardiola's attack, and Pep Guardiola would maybe even be comfortable trading attacks with Tottenham, and I think a player like Pep could get so much out of players like Son and Kane and Kulusevski. So yeah, I think even though as great as Gabriel Jesus has been, and he has made Arsenal's attack look 10 times more fluid and 10 times more dangerous, I think you just can't get better than Harry Kane. And you can't get better than Heung-min Son, who was the best player last season. I think should have even maybe won Premier League Player of the Season. Didn't even get nominated, but that's another story. So yeah, I will have to give Tottenham the edge in the attack. But as I think Arsenal have a better defense and midfield, I will have to say that I think that they have overall a stronger starting 11. Okay, so now we have given Antonio Conte and Tottenham the edge of the manager, and we have given Arsenal the edge in the starting 11. So it kind of all comes down to squad depth overall now, in these 3 criteria that I set for myself. So who has the better squad depth? And that's an interesting question, because both teams have fairly good squad depth. I think at center back, Arsenal can move Ben White out of right back and play Tomiyasu. That's good squad depth. They could play Kieran Tierney at left back. That's good squad depth. They could play Fabio Vieira at the number 10 to replace Odegaard. And they have players like, a lot of wingers like Martinelli, Saka, and other players like that who can, interchange the wing positions. And I think Arsenal do have an all-right squad depth overall, but I do think they're lacking in a few key areas that just really bring down the level of the team. So I think the first specific area is defensive midfield. I think they will really struggle without Thomas Partey because he is such a good and important player for them. But the other thing concerning Partey that you have to look at is that he is so injury prone that he cannot consistently play for an entire season. And I don't think they have a good enough backup in Thomas Partey to have a good enough squad depth to really make serious moves in the league. And that, in terms of that, I mean challenging on multiple fronts in the season. And that's maybe not even winning the league, but challenging in the Europa League and for the top four. I don't think they have quite enough squad depth in defensive midfield when Thomas Partey is out injured. And then another position that I think they are severely lacking in is the striker position. Gabriel Jesus has been amazing, but the level drops so significantly when Gabriel Jesus is not on the team, and he hasn't been dropped this season. But if he does get a long-term injury, or if he does, just feel fatigued or become out of form, they have no other solution. The only other striker they have at the club is Eddie Nketiah, who is simply not good enough to play for Arsenal. He's not a good enough striker. He doesn't score enough goals. He doesn't link up well enough. And I think striker and defensive midfield are the two areas where Arsenal really lacks squad depth. And I think that could be really key. That could be a really key area for things to go wrong for Arsenal if players like Lokonga have to come in for Thomas Partey and players like Nketiah have to come in for Gabriel Jesus. And I think that the level of the squad really drops if that happens. Okay, now let's talk about Tottenham squad depth. And I think Tottenham have a very good squad depth. I think they have a lot of cover at center back. I think not all of them are great. I think bringing in Lenglet from Barcelona was a dumb move. I don't think he'll play that much this season. But nonetheless, he is a center back, and he will, maybe play some parts of this team. In terms of wingback, they have fairly good cover. They brought in Perisic, who can play at wingback this season, so I think that's some really good cover for them. As well, they brought in Basuma from Brighton, who I'm not even sure starts in their midfield, with their midfield of Højbjerg and Bentancur being so strong. So I think a player like Basuma to come in and rotate between those two players is great to have for the squad. And then in terms of their attack, I think they have the best squad depth in attack that they ever have. They obviously have Kane and Son, like they always have and have for the past years, but they've always been kind of lacking on that right wing position, and haven't really found a player that has been up to the level of the other two players in that attack up until they found Kulusevski. I think, players like Bergwijn, haven't lived up to quite what Tottenham fans would have wanted. But Kulusevski has, and he's looked fantastic. And then in terms of players they have Lucas Moura, and they have Richarlison to play in any of the positions along the front three. And I think Richarlison specifically is a very good player to have on your bench, offers a lot defensively, and just in terms of work rate. So I think having that extra squad depth of Richarlison over a player like Bergwijn that they would have last season, I think that is a fairly big upgrade. And overall, I think for those reasons, I will give Tottenham the edge over Arsenal in terms of squad depth. Okay. So who is better overall? So just to summarize, I think Tottenham have the better manager, Arsenal have the better first 11, but Tottenham have the better squad depth. So for those reasons, I have to, unfortunately, as a Chelsea fan, say that I believe Tottenham are better than Arsenal this season and will therefore finish higher in the league and compete for more trophies, even though I don't think either team will win a trophy this season. I think Tottenham by far have the edge over Arsenal. So I really appreciate you guys watching this video and discussing who is better, Arsenal or Tottenham. I know a lot of you are going to disagree, so please let me know in the comments your opinions, and please like and subscribe, and have a nuanced discussion with me in the comments section. As well, if anyone wants to appear in the video, please let me know in the comments as well. Okay, without further ado, that is all I have for you today. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you later.